Welcome to Crushing with Abby O. I'm your host and body optimization coach, Abby O'Sullivan. I am passionate about helping you navigate your health and self-love journey, and I'll be sharing all of the secrets on utilizing nutrition, movement, stress management, mindset, and more in order to help you fit self-care into any moment of your day. We are going to bust through the health and fitness industry bullshit. We're going to have a laugh, and we might even cry sometimes, but then we're going to crush our day. Thank you for tuning in. I'm so excited to have you here. Let's go. Welcome back to another episode of Crushing with Abby O. I am, of course, your host, Abby, and today's special guest is Christy Campbell. She is the coach and founder. She is a coach and founder of Fitme. And she's also a good friend to the podcast because she is actually one of the people that helped me really broaden my idea of what I wanted this podcast to be. And we actually touch on that pretty briefly at the very beginning of the episode. But I know you're going to love this conversation. Christy is a mom of three, a Navy veteran, and founder of the Fitme community. She helps women create diet-free and sustainable changes to their nutrition and healthy lifestyle. She specializes in simple and realistic approaches for people with a lot of life going on. And we talk about it all. Like sitting down with Christy is like sitting down with an old friend that you're just really comfortable with. And you feel like you can talk about anything with. And we really go through it all. We talk about the foods that we ate growing up and how she knows that influenced her thoughts on food and mom life. Like, is being uncomfortable in your skin just the way it is? Her inspiration and the support that she found in a gym community and the common struggles that she finds women face as they navigate the transition of giving and giving and giving to everyone else but themselves to prioritizing their own health. I know you're going to find a lot of gems in our conversation. And without further ado, please welcome Christy to the podcast. Welcome, Christy. Welcome to the show. It's so good to have you on here. I'm very excited to have you here today.
Hi, Abby. It's great to see you.
Yes. And actually, just for listeners that they don't know, Christy was a very big inspiration to me for starting the podcast. She was somebody that I spoke a lot about this podcast with before starting it. It really helped me formulate more of the idea and the direction of how I wanted to take this. So awesome to have you on here.
Well, that's extra special then too. I mean, I knew that, but it's fun to think about that now you're just doing this podcast and people are listening and learning, and you conceived of that, not that long ago.
Yeah. So fun. I remember that. Yeah. We were starving, looking for a restaurant in Nashville, and we found it.
Wandering the streets.
Yes. That food was so good though. Drinks. It was great.
What did we get those? Was it like poutine? Is that what it's called? The French fry,
yes,
like piles.
Yeah. A lot of French fries.
A pile of French fries.
Good. It was so good.
That's what I remember from that place.
Yeah, it hit the spot.
Mm-hmm. I think we all ordered different variety of poutine. I feel like there was like more than one French fry order.
I feel like there's definitely a lot of French fries happening for sure.
Yes, 100%.
That was so good. Oh man. Mm-hmm. But also such good conversations always. So, first let's just dive into kind of your background and, cause it's a super interesting story. So I'd love for you to share with the audience, how you became a coach and how your very successful company Fitme actually started.
Thanks. I think my story is probably similar in a lot of ways to, maybe your listeners or maybe somebody that they know. I mean, I grew up a pretty active kid. I think like I played a lot of sports. And I say that because I never struggled with my weight growing up. Not that I really remember, but I did grow up eating like that 80s and 90s kid diet. So like all of the like processed junk. I mean,
so much cereal.
Cereal. Honey bunches. I mean, I can think of all of them. I mean, honey bunches of oats I used to eat by like the box.
Yes.
And then obviously all the fun ones like the Reese's peanut butter puffs and like all of those. But I mean, if
Cocoa
you think
Puffs.
it wasn't just the cereal. I mean, my mom was a single mom, worked 2 jobs, and so we were on our own. It's like, here's some food, cook it. So I was never hungry, but it was definitely more in the category of the convenience foods, the fast foods, the ordering pizza, the candy, the junk. Like, it's like, you're hungry. Well, let's go get some, Gushers. Like, that's kind of the food that was
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on. And so
Mm-hmm.
I thought that that was food, and that healthy food or diet food was kind of like spray butter and smart meals, and
Mm-hmm.
Slim
Oh,
Fast. And so I was
lean cuisines.
lean cuisine.
Yeah.
Yeah. You get like the hungry man if you're regular, but then you get like the diet hungry man with,
Those
you know,
commercials.
light mashed potatoes and light everything. And same thing with soda. It's like, oh, well, you just regular drink soda. That's what you drink. But if you're on a diet, well, then you're going to drink diet soda. So
Mm-hmm.
that's like the way that I thought about food. And it's not that we never had any vegetables or real food. It was less often. It was quite rare. And most of those vegetables came out of a can. So I was like, bleh,
Mm-hmm.
vegetables are nasty,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Isn't it
Um,
amazing the difference between even like steamed, roasted, canned, grilled? Like it's such
yes.
a difference. And especially
It's
when you
better
grow
than
up with that.
it's better than nothing. I think
Oh,
it just kind of
absolutely. Yeah.
framed what I was thinking about in food. And I remember
Mm-hmm.
just like I would go to a restaurant, like a Applebee's style restaurant or a Ruby Tuesday. I don't know where, if they have those
Yep.
everywhere, but
Yep.
I would get these giant what I would think would be like healthy salads. And they're just like mountains of nonsense, on like 4 pieces of lettuce.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is vegetables. So I mean, that's just the food language I grew up with. And I also watched my mom diet from day one. She always did struggle with her weight. So I
Mm-hmm.
watched her struggle and do all the things. And so I grew up, but I wasn't struggling with that. So I went into the Navy, and I was at the Naval Academy. And my first year at the academy, I hurt my knee, just a small tweak, to be honest. And I think I was misdiagnosed. I mean, now in retrospect, I'm pretty confident to say that. And I also think that the surgery they botched.
Mm.
So one ACL reconstruction, which is what I had,
Wow.
turned into 10 knee surgeries. So
Ugh.
I've had four, let's see, I've had 5 major reconstructions on my left
Oof.
knee. And then I've
Wow.
had a bunch of other in between surgeries. So you fast forward, 6 years or so, 6 or 7 years. And now I'm married. I'm in the Navy, and I was just getting out of the Navy, had my first 2 kids. And all of all of a sudden I'm 45 pounds overweight and stuck. Like a 1 year postpartum, thought, okay, well, I'll just be back to my baby weight. No. I mean, I had gained all that weight during pregnancy, which is normal, but I was eating like the same junk that I'd eaten my whole life. But then you
Mm-hmm.
took away sort of the exercise piece that I'd always kind of relied on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and all of a sudden I was like, oh my gosh, like here I am. I guess this is mom life. Because for my first son, I did lose the weight. I gained the weight in pregnancy and I lost it, but I lost it doing the diet things. Like I think I
Mm-hmm.
joined Weight Watchers a couple of times, and I just sort of like bought I did Weight Watchers the exact way you probably shouldn't do it. I'm sure there's good ways to do it. I did it the exact way you shouldn't. I bought like Weight Watchers ice cream sandwiches and Weight Watchers cupcakes,
Mm-hmm.
and I made my points in like processed food.
Mm-hmm.
um, but after my second son, I gained, 55 pounds again. And then when I went to try to lose it, it wouldn't go anywhere. And I was probably 28, and I thought to myself, okay, well, maybe there's something wrong with me. Maybe I don't have the discipline that some other people have. I would like look at my friends and think, you know, how come I'm like the chubby one? Is this going to always be me now? And maybe this is mom life.
Mm-hmm.
Um, maybe this is what happens after you have kids. You stop wearing clothes that you feel good in. You stop feeling confident. You just start finding clothes that look nice. You know, you look nice. Like a grandma would tell you, you look nice, you know?
Yeah.
And I was like, well, that's maybe what I'm going to be wearing now, clothes where I look nice, but I never feel like me anymore. And it was really a hard time because I felt really happy as a mom and I felt happy as a professional. At that time, I was out of the Navy and working for a nonprofit, and I felt really good about that, but didn't feel happy in my skin. It didn't feel like me, and I didn't feel like I knew how to get out of it, because everything that I would try would not work. So I did try Weight Watchers a couple more times, didn't work. I would try shake challenges. I tried buying all the things you can buy, because at the time you could still buy stuff off infomercials and stuff. So I bought Brazilian butt lift and a Wii Fit and you know,
shake weight. Just kidding.
I don't even know if they had shake weight then. But I just remember thinking, oh, well, where's the thing that's going to fix this, you know? And none of it worked. And so funny enough, my husband left on deployment and I actually moved home to my hometown and moved into my high school bedroom at my mom's house. And I had my boys were 2 and 4. So it was like not an easy time. And it was good to have family for support, but it was also, I mean, like if you move home and you're in like your high school bedroom and don't have any of your stuff and you have little kids, it's a lot. And I remember thinking to myself, okay, well, Josh has gone on deployment and I'm going to lose this weight. And there was no new resolution in my head, to be honest. I had thought this before and I didn't follow through. So I joined a gym and I was attending, I think, step aerobics class and stuff. I don't know. I just thought cardio, pick me a cardio. This is what I'm supposed to do. Right. And I remember being intimidated by all the machines too. It felt scary in there. I didn't know what to do. And I probably would have quit, to be honest. I probably would have gone for a little while and then just gave up. But I ran into this guy, he's a personal trainer, coach, and he invited me to his class out in the park. And at first I was not going to go because it was called Pain in the Park, which is the stupidest name.
Sounds horrible.
Like, I'm not going.
Why do trainers love these terrible names like that? I just love to make up.
Come to my death by squats class. You're going to love it. And you're like, get the hell out of here. That sounds
Pain
terrible.
In the park. I love it. That's so good.
So I went to the class, you know, and I was dressed entirely in black because I wanted to hide. And I had my knee brace on because my knee, obviously, after being through all those surgeries, I was sure my knee couldn't do anything, but I was like, I'm going to show up. And I remember feeling embarrassed and stressed the whole time because I was like, people are going to look at me like I can't do a push-up. A lot of the stuff we were doing are kind of like high embarrassment things, like bear crawl, for example, where like somebody's head is like,
and your ass is in the air. Yes. Jumping around and you feel your whole body like, oh, yes.
Yeah. And you're like doing burpees, and I love burpees now, but I remember just thinking, oh my God, like my stomach's falling out and like my butt crack is falling out and like I'm all over the place.
And you're like, your clothes are shifting and it's so,
So in a lot of ways, this should have been like the prime time to quit, right? You know, I mean, like this should be like, this was terrible. I'm never doing this. But in that first day, that coach, that trainer, he was watching, moving around the class, and he said, I see an athlete in there. And he saw me. Like, he didn't see my knee brace. He didn't see that 40 pounds of weight. He said something to me like he saw potential in me, and he saw what I wanted back. And that connection from him, and that sort of positive motivation, like in the face of all the stuff that like kind of was hard and impossible about being there, it cut right to me and it made me come back. And having a coach and having that trainer in my life that year, and he was just I mean, he's not like some fancy influencer or something. He was just a good coach, a good trainer. And he would tell me truth about stuff. He taught me about food, like in a way that nobody had before. He was like, you can't eat that. You can't eat out so much, you know, if you're trying to lose weight, and you probably need more protein. You probably need more calories actually. And you're going to need to drink water. It was just like the basics that nobody had told me before.
Yeah. So powerful.
And that year I lost that weight, but that's not really what I got back that year. Like it was great. Yay. On the outside, you could look at a before and after and be like, what a year, like what a transformation. But he gave me back that piece of me, or he didn't even give it back to me. He created a place in which I could get it back.
Mm-hmm.
And an environment and a community in which was like supportive and encouraging. And I made friends in the community that he had created. He gave me direction and coaching and honest feedback that I needed. And he gave me a push too. He wasn't just babying me. He was like pushing me. And because he did that, he changed my life. He gave me that piece back that was missing. And he made me feel like me again. And so at the end of that year, my husband was returning from deployment. I got certified as a personal trainer, and I decided like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to coach people. And I'm going to give back people what he gave to me.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was 8 years ago, I guess, eight and a half years ago. And so I've been coaching ever since. And at first I was doing personal training. I started my own pain in the park class
Yes.
to torture people in the park. So I did that for a while. And then I spent some time coaching CrossFit, like professionally. I was a head coach of a CrossFit gym and coaching weightlifting. And I loved all of that. I learned so much from that season of like being sort of working with people's bodies and seeing them in person and helping them.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started noticing, well, people are really struggling with the rest of the day. Like they could come here, but then they're struggling with the whole rest of the day.
Mm-hmm.
So then I started pursuing nutrition coaching. And I learned so much from doing that. It was very much like one-on-one nutrition coaching. Most of the time I used macro approach, or tried to help people with tracking their food and fueling their body for what they were trying to do in the gym. And I learned so much from that too.
Mm-hmm.
And then I started to think, well, this isn't working though for some people in real life. Like this isn't what I did that year that I made that big transfer. It's not the key thing. Tracking my macros wasn't really the thing. It was just a tool. And I was like, oh, well, I actually want to build something that's for people in their real life and give them the strategies and the coaching and the community that they need so that they can find that same success. And it wasn't just a plan, and it wasn't just, a tool. There was this whole thing that was created with having a really good coach and having people that care about you and being pushed and like seen. And so that's why I created Fitme, because I wanted to sort of meet that need and create a space for women to find that success and to find people to do the journey with. And so that's what I do now. I lead coaches, all over the country. We're kind of spread out. And we help women with the day-to-day, the real life stuff. And we help women create those transformations and find themselves again.
Yeah. Such a beautiful story.
Thank you. I felt like I was talking for too long, but that's the answer to your question.
Exactly. Yeah. It's hardly ever like a very simple, well, I just decided one day that I wanted to be a coach. There's always, a whole life behind that. I can do the same thing. And it's like, it's not really a very simple story, because I didn't just like start training and I wasn't an athlete. And then all of a sudden I want to be a coach. It was like a very gradual process, but having a good trainer, a good coach that really does believe in you and can push you because they see more in you is life-changing. My first personal trainer actually was this entitled little shit straight out of college. He was just like pissed that he wasn't getting paid more. And I was really excited to have a personal trainer. And so his attitude was kind of, I was very annoyed by it. Like it pissed me off because I'm like, I'm paying for this and I'm here and I'm ready. So if you say like, well, let's get this over with because we both don't want to be here. It's like, actually, I do want to be here. And I would like to learn how to do things besides fire hydrants. So if we could do that. But my next coach was awesome. Like immediately first day was taking me into the weight room where I never went and showing me the leg press and showing me how to barbell squat. And I hadn't even, I'd probably learned how to maybe body weight squat. So, the first guy maybe served a purpose of like baby steps, but second coach was like, we're going to learn how to lift. And I was like, yes. made me feel so cool and empowered, and like made me realize how much stronger I was. And he would push me. He was like, because I know you have more in you. And he'd get in my face a little. We had an interesting way of conversating with each other that mostly involved yelling, but always in a good, always in like a positive sense, not in a hateful sense. He never made me cry or anything like that. He made me want to cry because I was out of breath, but it made
that's different.
made a huge impression. So I think that's so powerful to have somebody like that, especially when you first start out and everything is so intimidating and overwhelming. And I mean, it takes a lot of bravery, even just to like walk into the gym and sign up, because I felt very out of place.
I love the visual of you walking into the weight room that you never go, like with a coach or trainer by your side, because I feel like that is a really like beautiful picture of what good coaching is. It's like, come with me, literally outside of your comfort zone into this place, and I'm right here, and I'm going to show you what to do. And like, fuck all those people who are looking, they're not looking at you, but you need somebody to say that.
I mean, maybe they were because I was cute, but no, I'm just kidding. But like I was actually sticking to the machines and had looked at like at bodybuilding.com and had gotten some sort of leg workout. So I was kind of doing some stuff, but I really didn't know what I was doing. So when they did like a special for personal training, I was like, heck yeah. And of course, and I went through that first one, but yeah, the second guy was like tall. He was an athlete. Like it was very natural for him. And so it just made me feel like I'm with the cool guy and he's going to make all these other guys get out of my way because I belong here too. And he's going to show me how to do this. And he's going to make me be in here too. So he's going to make me get out of my comfort zone. So yeah. And then that really translated into being able to, that and like some experience later on, right? Like I still kind of was shy about walking into new gyms when I moved, but it did make me feel more confident about even going in, using stuff, playing around with stuff, looking a little bit stupid sometimes, or feeling like I look stupid because I don't know how to use something, but also asking for help, because I learned from that first gym experience that most of the people involved in the industry want to help you. And they are literally paid to do that. And if they're not doing their job, then find somebody else who is, because that's what they're there for.
Able to find somebody. Yeah. There's somebody there who wants to help you and would in fact probably nerd out on going out of their way to help you.
Exactly. So cool. Yeah. I love hearing your story. Some of that I didn't know. So that's cool. I love talking about the food part too, because I really never thought about that. In terms of how I grew up too. And I think we had a pretty good mix of things, but yeah, I mean, I used to drink pop. I used to drink so much milk. I mean, milk isn't bad, but it's just like, I used to drink so much milk. Like, did I ever drink water? And
I don't think I did. Maybe at sports I did.
And it's interesting how much my vegetable tastes have changed over the years too. So, and even like not really liking fish, maybe because I was mostly into fish sticks growing up. Like that, that used to literally patties. Be how I ate fish. Fish. Everything's better
it has
fried.
To be fried, and then a McDonald's fish sandwich. Your taste buds can change, and so I joke with people when they try something, and I'm like, listen, it's not going to taste good. I'm going to tell you the truth. If you have not eaten like fresh raw vegetables, for example, I honestly forgot how much of a learning curve potentially there is with fresh raw vegetables. If you haven't been eating those and then you try to eat them, like dipping like a raw piece of broccoli, for example, or cauliflower, you're gonna be like, what?
I know. Well, cauliflower really doesn't have a lot of taste. Like,
no,
let's be real.
The texture is also odd, if you haven't had that before. And like bell peppers and those kind of things, which I think are really yummy now as like fresh and raw. If you try them for the first time, you got to give yourself a handful of times. And so I definitely encourage people, it's okay to use dip. Especially when you're like, getting used to it, get used to the texture, find which ones you like. And there is a sliding scale of ones that are easier to like. I mean, start with carrots.
Agreed.
That's
Yeah,
pretty
they have a
easy to
naturally
like.
sweet taste. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's so funny.
Easy to
My
like.
dad used to try to get me to eat raw bell pepper, and I'd be like, why do you do this
Uh-huh.
to me? I just hated it,
Mm-hmm.
but I always like I did it, but I just hated it inside. But I still don't like love bell pepper raw, like green ones, but I love those the mini like
The
sweet
mini ones are
peppers.
good.
And I use
Mm-hmm.
those to dip with like my tuna salad or chicken salad or hummus or whatever. Because I like that tastes better. Now I'll use green bell peppers for like a what do you like a stuffed
Like
bell
cooking it or
pepper.
something. Yeah, I
Yeah,
like those for
something
that.
like that. But it's interesting how I and beets too. I've told this recently to somebody, like my grandma would have us eat beets, and I feel they were probably canned and they were always warm. And I could
Mm,
never understand like what the big deal was about eating the damn beets. I feel like, why are
mm.
you making me eat this? I do not want it. Like now
Pickled beets is one of my favorites now.
I don't know if I've ever had pickled beets, but I will put them on my salad occasionally, usually at a salad bar. And
Uh-huh.
hi puppies. Oh, doggies.
Oh yeah. All the dogs in the background right now.
They're gonna be like, what? Like, oh, my cat's sleeping, so she can't interrupt us. Um, and I recently made it's a beet, sweet potato, chickpea hummus. Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's got a ton of garlic in it. It's very
That sounds
antioxidant.
yum.
Oh my gosh. And it turns out red like a beet. So yeah, it's interesting.
I think you'd like pickled beets. They're good.
Yeah, I'll have to try
They're
it
very
sometime.
good.
Mm.
You find them at or at least I used to get them from almost like farmers markets
Mm.
on the East Coast. There were a lot of like Pennsylvania Dutch and those type of and Amish farmers
Oh
markets that
yeah.
have pickled and preserved foods. And so you can get pickled beets, but I think you can get them pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, I'll have to try them. Hmm.
Yeah.
So when so you work with a lot of women, what do you find to be some of the most common struggles when it comes to women and like losing weight and being healthy and wanting to feel good in their body? Her dogs are hanging out.
You're laughing at me because I reached behind me to like wipe or to move my dog and her face was covered in dirt. And so it's all over my hand. This is my real
It's
life,
real
guys.
life.
So if you're like, what are
Oh,
those sounds? It's my 3 dogs, and I have 3 kids also. So now I have
yeah.
3, and you're hearing my daughter Georgia with her nanny a couple rooms away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
This
why
is why we'll
that's
use
why
the video, because that right there on the couch.
and
So
Bonnie laying
cute.
there, she looks like a giant floof. Like so,
So cute.
for my dog lovers, let me tell you about these dogs. So we had labs forever, chocolate lab, yellow lab, and we had them since I got married. So we got married in 2006. So I don't know how long ago, 15 years ago. And
Mm-hmm.
the labs lived up until last year. So they
Oh,
lived like the best dog life.
yeah.
My chocolate lab passed first, like about 2 years ago, and then my yellow lab passed. Well, I got Bonnie, this giant floofy, like she looks like a cartoon character. I mean, she's a Bernedoodle and she's a full size one. So she's giant. And she has like all of the fur, and she's the sweetest, nicest, like domesticated dog. So this is this is a like pretend dog. I just like laugh.
Yeah.
Because
So cute.
she's sweet. She thinks she's a person.
Yeah.
She's easy to train, everything. So the reason I'm telling you that is because Bonnie was supposed to be the dog for the next season. It was like, oh, we're going to have this one floofy, sweet, like hypoallergenic, really well-trained dog. And then last year I rescued 2 Mastiff mutt puppies.
Oh, puppies
And
that are small then, and then they get big.
and I rescued them off the side of the road from a lady who was trying to sell like the entire litter
Oh,
on like 2 weeks before Christmas. And it was like 10 degrees outside. And she had them
oh,
on the concrete, like on the
oh,
ground with like a pen around them. And there was probably 10 of them, I think. And I pulled over. I was on a coaching call actually. And I was like, I gotta go. Bye. And I was like, I
I
gotta
gotta
see
do
what's
a
happening
thing.
here. Cause I could tell something was wrong. You know what I mean? You just like look
Yeah.
at something, you're like, that's not right. Like I've seen people sell side of the road puppies before. It's not like the best plan, but this was not that. This was like a weird situation because it was like it was 10 degrees outside and these puppies were on the concrete and this lady was sitting in this lawn chair and she just looked sketchy. And so I pulled over and I was like, what are you doing with these dogs? And she's like, oh, I'm selling them. And I was like, they look too young. And I have seen small puppies because our labs actually had a litter of puppies back in the day. So I know how little puppies look.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, these puppies do not look old enough. And she's like, oh, they are. They are. And she's like, they're 5.5 weeks, but they're weaned. They're ready to go. I'm like, you're not supposed to even remotely do that until they're 8 weeks old.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
And she's like, no, I got to get rid of them today. She's like, I got to pay my tax bill, quote, tax bill. So I think she just wanted them gone and she wanted to make a buck.
Wow.
And these like little babies and they were frozen and they were filthy. So I was like, hang on. And so it's like, how much do you want for all these puppies? Like 10 of them. And I was like, how much do you want for all of them? I'm going to go to the ATM right now and I'm going to be right back. You think about what you want, you know?
Gosh, Christy.
So
I love this.
I was like, I know enough people that I could take these puppies and I'll figure it out. You know, I just had to get them away from her. So anyways, I went to the ATM and I maxed it out because you can only take out, you know, some ATMs cap you for cash limit.
Yeah.
So I think I only
do you know what I'm trying to do here?
$400. And then I like went back and I was like, here, I'll take them all. Here's $400. Like, go pay your quote tax bill. And she's like, you can't have them all. She's like, you can only have 4. And so, because it was a couple weeks before Christmas. So I think she figured I'm going to sell these puppies. Mm-hmm. So I did take the 4. And I called my friend. I put this on Instagram, by the way. And so I had people blow me up, but my friend was like, I'll go back and try to get the rest. Mm-hmm. And so she went back a couple hours later and she got 3 more. And then, so 1 had already gone. And then I don't know what happened to the last 2, but anyways, I had 4 of these like tiny baby puppies over Christmas last year. And they were babies. I mean, they were 5.5 weeks. They shouldn't have been gone from their mom. They were frozen and cold and, you know, all of that dirty. They just were too young. So anyways, it was like having a newborn baby because it was like round the clock for a couple of weeks. Yeah. And then my boys, this was like the story I didn't know I was telling on this podcast.
It's okay. We're in it. We're in for it now.
With COVID, to be honest, there's no universe that I would have said yes to keeping these puppies, by the way. Like I love dogs, clearly, but I was not, I mean, my daughter's 2. So a year ago she was 1. So there was like no universe. I was like, oh, I need some more dogs. And at that time, our yellow lab who's since passed away, she was still alive. So she was just like 90, 110-year-old dog. And then I've got Bonnie the puppy, who's like a year old at this point, the big fluffy one. And then my daughter, who was an actual baby. So I didn't want to keep these dogs. I just wanted to find them homes, but my boys fell in love with them. Aww. And a year ago, everything was still very shut down here in Washington State. And the boys weren't in school. They were e-learning. And they just didn't have a lot. They didn't have their sports. They didn't have anything. And they were like, it was right before Christmas. And I couldn't say no. I totally fucked up. So my son, Logan, fell in love with our dog, Rocky, who is 120 pounds now. His name's Rocky, and he's like a tan Mastiff mutt. And then his sister Rosie is my son Henry's dog, and she's like a brindle. And they're really great dogs, but they are a lot because if you've ever had big dogs, they take a lot of training and energy and anyways, space. They trash my stuff. I trained them. They're well trained, but they're still just big, enormous babies at a year old. So it doesn't surprise me at all that in the middle of this podcast, Rosie would come behind me and wipe a pile of dirt all over me.
Your butt.
So anyways, there you go. That's why I have 3 kids and 3 dogs, and 2 of them being Mastiff puppies.
Oh, that's such a beautiful story. You saved them. Who knows what would have happened if they were left with that lady?
I just was worried that she was going to try to sell them and then dump them, or that like, you know, somebody who buys a puppy for $50 off the side of the road, you know,
why?
2 weeks before Christmas.
It's going to happen to it. Yeah. After Christmas yeah.
Yeah. Or sometimes people buy bait dogs. Like there's just so many terrible things that can happen. Yeah. They're like, I'll buy those, you know, perfect. So it was just too scary. Disgusting. And yeah, so that's why I have these guys running around behind me.
Well, I love the visual entertainment.
Yes. So I think before my dogs interrupted the podcast, you were asking me about what struggles women have.
Yeah. And I know like there's definitely those kind of go-to external struggles, and they probably come to you with, you know, some, I want to lose weight, I want to feel good. But there's always there's something deeper there always. So I would love to kind of hear from you what, like, there's the external stuff, but like what is deeper than that we tend to struggle with when it comes to feeling good in our bodies, feeling healthy, if the goal is weight loss, or I mean, possibly weight gain or muscle gain, essentially too.
I feel like one of the reoccurring themes that I see in women, and I really relate to this, is that most women that I know are givers and overachievers in different categories of their life. So for some women, that's their professional career. For some women, that's their home life. You know, they're really invested. They're overachievers in that category. They just want to crush it. And then, you know, for some women, it's a hobby or something. They like to volunteer or give or be a part of their church or their community in some way. They're really good at that. And what tends to happen over time, because we live in a world where the food isn't awesome unless you're deliberately trying to find it, you're more pushed food that's not great for you. And then we have kind of a sedentary lifestyle with commuting and people working from their computers. I mean, there's exceptions, but most people find if they're working, they're sitting. You have this sort of environment, and then we have stress, like never ending stress coming at us from all angles. Well, most of the women that I know figure out how to juggle that. They do pretty, they are working their asses off to juggle all of the things. Whether, you know, they want to do well at their job, they want to be there for their family or their partner or their kids or their crazy dogs or whatever. And then they are like, well, I have the stress coming my way, so I'm going to balance my stress and like try to deal with all of that. And then somewhere along the line, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years passes, and all of a sudden they look at their body and they're like, how did I get here? Because the neglect that they've done through, again, the sort of normal, you know, Western diet, the normal like lifestyle that we have, plus being such a giver, go giver in all these other categories, but not taking care of themselves. All of a sudden they find themselves really stuck. And the answer sounds like weight loss. It's like, well, I don't want to be here. I don't like how I feel in my clothes. I don't like what I look like. I want to feel good when I look in the mirror, and I don't like this. But the problem, sure, yes, weight loss, there's a lot of good potentially health things that'll come from that, and you should want to feel good in your clothes, and all that is great. But the problem is that you've become excellent at taking care of everything else but yourself. And in order to actually see the change that you want to see, you have to actually make changes. And so for me, that is the number one hard thing for women. It's to make some kind of swap where they used to do something for someone else, and now they have to do something for themselves. And so that could be saying, well, I won't be home right after work because I'm going to go to the gym. And so you carve out that time that used to be your home, and now you're going to the gym. Well, somebody's going to push back on that probably.
Or they're going to feel such guilt about it.
Yeah. Or you're just going to put it
too.
on yourself.
Yeah.
You're going to feel bad. You're going to be like,
Mhm.
well, God, I'm the mom that's like so selfish
Mhm.
that I like, here I am at the gym and I'm not doing blah, blah, blah. Or maybe it's just with your partner. Maybe it's like you're used to doing something and now you're like the person who doesn't want to go out to dinner 4 nights a week because you're like, I really want to eat at home because I'm trying to eat more healthy. And we always like do all this fun stuff. But if I keep doing that, I'm going to keep gaining weight. And all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're no more fun, you know?
Yeah. Apparently.
And you're like telling
Yeah.
them you don't want to do it. And you think to yourself, well, they don't want to hang out with me. Like I'm damaging the relationship. Like I'm not spending quality time. You start to tell yourself all this stuff. So the hardest problem tends to be to recarve out in your existing life how you are going to do the things you love and that are fulfilling, and at the same time take care of yourself and do it in a way that you can keep doing it. Because I think we can just like throw out the idea that you can like quick fix or, fad diet the solution. You can't. So if you're like, I'm in it for real, I really do want to make these changes, then it actually gets hard because we have to make some swaps.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Even if, and again, it's not always people. Sometimes we push back on it too. We just like self-talk ourselves out of things.
Absolutely.
But it's still a change in your routine. What you prioritize your time. Your time is your most valuable asset. So whatever occupies your time, those are your priorities. And people should just take that one and let it sit, because it doesn't always feel good to hear that, but it's true. However you're spending your time, those are your priorities at the end of the day. And so when we are like, well, I'm spending way too much time scrolling, or I'm spending way too much time at work, or I'm spending way too much time doing whatever, those are your current priorities. So when we own that, and you can say, well, I do need to be a part of my priorities, or like taking care of my body needs to
usually on that list is not yourself.
No. So I need to take care of my, of putting myself on that priority list. And then you can decide. So the easy one is like, well, what shouldn't be on this list? Like, what am I just not even feeling fulfilled about that's taking up my time? It's not even supposed to be a priority, but somehow it ended up here. Those are the first ones to go. That's step one.
Yep. Take notes.
Get rid of it.
Take notes, people. This is the taking note portion of the podcast.
So step one, get rid of the stuff that no longer fulfills you, that is a time suck, that makes you feel unsatisfied, or that is out of alignment with your values. It doesn't serve you. Those things go, because that's going to open up some space. And then maybe that's all you need, actually, because then you can just start to insert how you're actually going to commit to yourselves the same way that you do all these other things. And it's not going to happen automatically, because step 2 is to use the same strategies that made you successful in other parts of your life and apply it to this. So if if you show up to work on time every day, whether or not you feel like it, because it starts at 8 and you show up, that's how you're going to do this. You're going to keep showing.
We don't always want to make meals ahead. It gets old, but you know that during the course of the week, that comes in really handy and lowers your stress levels and allows you to eat in alignment with however it is that you're trying to eat.
Yeah. And if you successfully take your dog to the vet on time, or your kid to the pediatrician on time, you can do that because you put it in your calendar, and then you don't book stuff over top of it. You make sure you have time to get there. You kind of do the work back that's necessary. That's what you have to do for your workouts. There's no shortcut. You're not just going to be like, yeah, I'm going to start working out. Yeah, I'm going to remember to take my kid to the pediatrician in a month. Not going to do it. It actually has to be in my calendar. And then I commit to doing it. And so, especially in the beginning, your workouts or even your walking time needs to be in your calendar. And it's not a hypothetical. It's how long does it take me? And it's like, how long does it take me to drive to the gym? Build that into your calendar. How long is it going to take you to get home? you would do the same thing for anything else. And so once we start to apply that skill set, so I mean, remove all the crap that you don't want in there anymore, that shouldn't be a priority. And then now you're going to start to put yourself in, in your routines, these changes that you're going to make, and use those skill sets that you have in other areas. You can do this too. And so I think for women, and I feel, circling back to why is this hard, is because we've practiced for years and years, not prioritizing ourselves. And we have the false idea that if we were just different, or born genetically different, or luckier, that we wouldn't have to do all of this work to feel good in our body. We're like, but that's not true either. I mean, there's always exceptions, but for the most part, the people that I know who truly live a healthy lifestyle, they work really hard at it.
Yeah.
It's a thing.
Ongoing too.
Ongoing.
And with seasons of life where it can look very different from season to season. And I think that that's something that like gets missed a lot too, because it's just not always going to be the same. And it's okay if you have to go to 2 workouts a week instead of 4, or if you need to rely on maybe a food prep service rather than doing the cooking at home, if you can, if that's like a thing that you can fit in. And it's okay to like not be perfect all the time, because life is never going to be perfect all the time. But I think knowing that it can shift and it will shift, and just like being able to anticipate that, just take some pressure off of yourself.
It does, because there's nothing wrong with you if it's hard and if it's taking work. That's just how it is.
I mean, think of overcoming years and years of thinking about things a certain way and doing things for other people, and all of a sudden you're trying to do it for yourself. Like, yeah, it doesn't just happen overnight.
No. And again, depending on where you've invested your time. So every woman I know is different, right? Maybe you invested your time in education. So you have gone and gotten advanced degrees. Like we have a handful of women in Fitme who are either doctors or physician assistant, or, we have pharmacists, all sorts of people who have like advanced degrees. So if that's you, when you started high school or college, or, your advanced degrees, you knew it was going to be a long game. You didn't expect to get perfect score on everything. And you had to apply those strategies. Like you organized your life around accomplishing that thing. But can you imagine what it would be like if you've never successfully done school, or seen anybody who's done school, or missed, kind of like didn't ever think that you could do that? You would probably feel so overwhelmed by it that you would quit. Like I got a C on my first test. Clearly I can't do this. Or, oh my God, I forgot to show up. Like, this is not for me. I guess I can't do it. Or like, it's getting hard. I thought this was going to be like pretty doable, and it seems like pretty hard. And so if you've gone through something, whether it's school, or whether it's like a credential, or whether even like with kids, like you would see somebody in that moment and you'd be like, no, it's okay. You're going to learn how to do those things. And we're just going to, you got to keep going. You got to keep showing up, and you'll get there. And you're probably going to need to change this part about what you're doing, because that's not working, and we're going to have to work hard and all that. And so it very much applies to fitness and healthy lifestyle. In the beginning, we can just, especially if you've never seen it before, or if you've mostly just seen like the diet gimmick version, or if you've never been successful before, you might start on the right path actually, and start to make changes, and then just talk yourself out of it. This isn't for me. It's not working. Clearly I'm not better. I'm not a good cook. Like, I can't do this. I'm not athletic. It's for so-and-so, but it's not for me. So maybe I can just go get that, for $49, I can go get my fake degree on the corner and maybe that'll work. That's
a really great example, metaphor, or whatever analogy, whatever it is. It's really great.
It's kind of, and we would be like, no, don't do that.
Don't do that.
But we do that all the time. I mean, I've done it. We've done it all the time. You're like, there's a really long journey this way, and I don't think it's for me.
I think I'm just going to go get this $60 fat burner and see what happens.
Yes, that'll work.
I've done that. And it felt very uncomfortable.
Yeah. And you want to believe it. I mean, you can parallel this with financial stuff too. Like if you have really good financial skills, you work hard at it. It is not an accident. If you have savings, if you have investments, it is not something that just accidentally happened. And so, and even if you just manage your money, you might not have wealth, but you pay your bills on time. You've got a good track of what's happening. It's not an accident. And so then we can see how, if you've never done that before, how it can feel so overwhelming, and why like it's difficult when someone's starting to, maybe they're just getting to adulthood and they've grown up in a place where they don't have good financial examples or they've never seen it. Well, of course they're going to go to payday loan. Of course they're going to be more likely to sign up for the credit card scheme, or the thing that's supposed to get rich quick. Because we look at them and we're like, that you can't get rich quick. Like that doesn't make any sense. And again, because in context, you can see it, because maybe that part of your life, you've learned the skills, you've seen the examples, and you've prioritized it in a different way. But for body stuff, it seems like really smart, capable, wonderful, successful women find themselves doing payday loans and, get rich quick schemes. It doesn't make sense. I mean, I did it too. There's no judgment here. It's just sometimes, because whether you've never seen it, or you've neglected yourself for a really long time, or you've just learned from the internet, a lot of stuff that's not true. We find ourselves in this place where it feels so overwhelming and impossible.
Yeah. And also, what was I just thinking? I had a couple of thoughts there, but the first one was that we want to believe that, like, oh, well, they wouldn't sell it to me if it didn't work. We want to believe, like I am the type of person, like I want to believe everyone has the best intentions. Well, sometimes you have to open your eyes a little bit, Abby. The second thing there was, and I actually saw you post about this recently, was kind of the generational stuff. So if you've never had that example and you've never seen that, it doesn't mean that it's bad. It doesn't mean that, like your parents didn't want or mean the best for you. They were just working with the tools that they've had and what they've been taught. And so if you've never had that example of doing stuff for yourself, because you came from, mom after mom who did for the family and only did for the family, like you never saw her taking care of herself, like truly, really, or making a big deal out of it. And my mom was like very selfless too. So even not having that example in that way, and recognizing that it's okay and accepting it, but that you can be the person that learns how to do that and breaks that. And then like for you, I believe the example is that passing it on to your daughter.
Yeah. And we've only been talking about so far, the more like external, like the habits, talking about eating and, movement and stuff. And what you're bringing up is a post that I was talking about, almost like the internal. If you've had the crap body image and never been worthy or good enough, or skinny enough, or projected onto you, like that's a whole nother element, because you have to add that into the equation too. You're going to have to learn a whole new skill set around busting some of that. And again, some of that you can probably do on your own, and some of that people probably would benefit greatly from having some support, whether that's a counselor or whatever, because that's some real crap.
Yeah. It's a lot to navigate through, and it is complementary along with like taking the actual actions, because it just reinforces all of that too. And then it expands like how comfortable you are in doing that, because new things, new thoughts, new ways of thinking, and new actions are going to feel like weird, uncomfortable, like hard. But the more that you do it, the easier it gets. And even like with a particular client that I'm thinking of. And she was like, I like how you made me do this in steps and didn't just like give me all the things at once. And I'm like, right. Because that's why a lot of times people end up quitting or giving up, is because we try to go for like the most advanced thing first. Well, I need to count macros. That's how it's done. Well, or maybe you just need to become aware of what you're actually eating first. Maybe you just need to add in an extra serving of protein. And then we can worry about tracking and calculating and taking all the time to do that. Because if that seems overwhelming, if that takes too much time right now, we just need to build up to that, because then it becomes like more second nature. And even seeing that in myself, when I was ready to dive into like my gut health, I was like, well, this is great for me in my life right now, because I'm used to tracking, I'm used to looking at food, and I have some understanding. So this will be easier for me in that particular way. And I'll be able to execute my plan better because I do have some of that background. Doesn't mean that somebody who doesn't know any of that beforehand couldn't do it, but it was just kind of like the next level for me. And I was like, cool, all my experience that I have so far is really going to help here. And that's where I just think like taking the steps and building on that it comes with time, kind of just like everything you're saying. It's just it's not a 4-week thing.
No,
unfortunately.
yeah. And but you can start to see changes quickly. Like things can turn around really quick. So it doesn't have to take a decade to feel better. You can feel better even today. Even doing a couple of things today can help sort of change the course and give you some momentum. And so, take both of those things, that it is a long game. It is going to take actual effort and ups and downs. And it's something that if you're committed to it, potentially commit your body. So for forever, I want to be 80, 90 years old and still doing some version of exercise where I'm like, going out and doing like some kind of plank or, some of my tiny dumbbells, and still like giving myself props for putting vegetables on my plate. And like, who knows, it'll be like, instead of taking a picture, it'll be like, take a hologram of it. And I'll be like,
who knows what's going to happen in the future.
I'll be like, send it to my kids and I'll be like, Fitme plate. Done. Did it. I'm like 90 years old, but it just doesn't get old. I mean, I've been coaching and training and exercising consistently for 8+ years now. And I still take pictures of myself sometimes after I finish a workout just to celebrate the fact that I did it.
Yeah, absolutely. The other day I was at the YMCA, and I don't do a lot of pictures in public. There's just too many people around. So I don't really I'm just very aware of like other people around. I'm not trying to get them in my photos and all of that. Not everyone wants to be on your Instagram, so I tend not to film or anything over there, which is kind of nice. Just allows me to focus on my workout. But I've been in a new workout plan and my biceps were just pumped, man. And I like flat out pulled up my t-shirt sleeve and I was like flexing in the mirror. I was like, damn, yeah. I was like, look at me. I did all of that. I still love a good bra flex, like whatever, because I'm proud of like what I've done. And it's fun to see what's going on there. And it's fun to see the results in your body and the results of all your hard work. And yeah, for sure. And plus my body is still going to shift and change no matter what. So it's just kind of interesting to take some time to admire or just kind of observe like what's going on. So I love
and
that.
If you don't, then your inner you like pays attention. And so obviously we can take this too far and we can be like egomania and self-obsessed. I'm not saying that at all. And then like self-focused, where like, don't think about anybody else. That's a different problem. That's not my specialty. So if that's you, I still love you, but like, can't help you with that one. But if you don't take time to tell yourself good job, and man, give yourself your progress.
Give yourself some props. Even if giving yourself props for hitting 4 like water bottles or whatever, like getting your water in, like when you weren't, like I literally will recognize myself for that, because water is something that I feel like I still struggle with. I don't know why. It just is. I think it's just from years of being in the beauty industry and ignoring thirst for
Yeah.
hours at a
Probably like
time.
can't have water, must keep standing.
Must keep working. But yeah,
But
it's
if you had a good friend you cared about and they were working really hard, you'd be like, girl, you are
yeah,
crushing it.
high
Like you look
fives.
awesome. Or if you have kids, like, and they're working really hard, you're gonna acknowledge it. You're gonna be like, that looks so much better
Mm-hmm.
than yesterday. Like, good job.
Mm-hmm.
Because you're reinforcing a positive relationship and you are building someone up.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? You gotta do that for yourself.
Yeah, give that to yourself too. It's okay. And
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't have to be like, oh, I'm being arrogant and I'm being, it doesn't, I mean, again, like you said, it's a different,
Totally different thing.
yeah, like flexing in the mirror and being proud of yourself. And I mean, I don't slap myself on the butt or anything like that. Like, I think that'd be kind of weird, but I mean, it would be weird, but I'm just like, good job, girl. You
Uh-huh.
killed it.
Uh-huh.
You lifting with the big
Yes.
boys.
Yeah.
Showing all these
And
teenagers around me what's up.
you're gonna have to do that your whole life. I mean,
Yeah.
it's gonna change. I before I had my daughter Georgia, so she was a surprise, like a really great surprise. But we thought we were done having kids because we had tried for a while. I mean, because my boys are 11 and 13, my daughter's 2.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So we had tried for a third and it didn't happen. And so I thought, okay, well, we've got our boys and like let's do life. And so we had about I don't remember. So she's 2. So that would have been like 3.5 years ago. We moved cross country. So my husband got stationed in a new place. He's active duty. I don't know if I said that. He's still in the Navy. I'm obviously been out for a while, but we got stationed in a new place. So we moved cross country and we were getting ready for deployment. And so he was getting ready to leave. And I had just founded Fitme actually. So my business had just started. I had been coaching before that, but this online coaching business was brand new. And 5 days before he left on deployment, I found that I was pregnant. Surprise. Yes. And so it was a really good surprise. Like very much we were happy, but it was also just like, oh my God,
Oh, wow.
change of plans, big
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that whole year I was pregnant, he was gone. And then when he got back from deployment, he was basically going to be commuting back and forth between Virginia and Washington State. So cross country.
Oh,
So
wow.
he only had a couple of months left before he was going to transfer home. So we were like, well, we're not moving to Virginia for 4 months. So you're just going to come back and forth. But then COVID happened and the military got locked down. And so he actually ended up having to spend almost a whole nother year away. And so he didn't move home and get to live with us consistently until she was 1. Yeah, so it's just kind of funny. It's unplanned and we've had kind of like some of those not normal life obstacles.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's 2 and my boys are 11 and 13. So there's quite the gap there.
Yeah. Well, so speaking of that, that's a great segue because I was going to ask you, like, personally, because you do wear many hats: wife, mom, entrepreneur, business owner, podcaster. I mean, and I know that you take care of probably, I would say, like many facets of your business yourself, content creation, and at least, parts of that, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And you show up in your business. So, what are some of the ways that you manage your time and implement you time and family time?
Mm-hmm. It's definitely not easy, I would say. Working from home is both a blessing and not a blessing because you're home. And so that's great. I mean, like right now, my daughter's in the other room. And she has a nanny who's with her. So I get to see her and give her a hug and get going in my day. But sometimes there's interruptions and all that. When the boys were home for when everything was locked down and they couldn't go to school, they were home and I was working from home. So there's kind of that give and take of just like the juggling of attention. But I think the actual ways that I'm able to make it work are I'm really strict about time blocking. And so what that means is like I have a block of time. So for example, on Mondays is just my team day, really. So I get to connect with the different people on my team who are helping and leading in certain ways. And we have like team meetings. And so I really get everybody going and can put out fires. And that day is always, so it's blocked out like that. And then, Tuesdays and Thursdays are my coaching or mentorship days where I get to, it's blocked. Like I can schedule people in those times and then not other times. So I don't schedule people for coaching calls at 5 o'clock at night. My kids, that's kid time and crazy time and juggling all the things time. So I just have like really strict, like this is when this block is. And Wednesday, I didn't used to do this, but a couple of years ago, I decided that because my job is so, and I love it, it's so people oriented and external energy oriented, that I needed a day right in the middle of my week where I didn't have to do that. And so Wednesdays, I don't do calls. It's not even available. And so Wednesdays I do whatever I want, whether that is, dentist appointment, or I want to go for a walk or meet a friend for lunch, or if I want to just work quietly all day, I can. So I built that into my calendar and I protect it. And so I kind of structured my week based off of what I want I want my days to look like. It's not perfect, to be honest. In some ways, I think the work part, Fitme and coaching, and that it's easier for me because I'm a workhorse and I will be just like we were talking about, like I would grind all day, but then being able to be like, okay, well, that's good for today. That's done for today. And then switch into mom mode. And I wish I could say that like we're sitting around the table, at night, like kumbaya, eating our like home cooked meals, but it doesn't really look like that. It's more scrappy than that. It's like, okay, I'm going to take this kid here and I'm going to, drop this one off here. And we're going to, yes, we eat real food at home most of the time, but it's not like all sit down at the table time because we're everywhere. My daughter will like trash the table, sometimes it's like, we just do the best we can. So I think I'm always trying to do that part better. The mom part, I think that part is always going to be like, I could do that even better. And then the me part, it's so seasonal. There was a season before I had my daughter where that was easier. So even though I was coaching and I was doing all the things, it actually felt a lot easier. I could be in the gym for 2 hours. It was already carved out of my life. I didn't have a toddler. The boys were old enough. I'd be like, go play. I'm going to go to the gym for 2 hours, Josh wasn't deployed then. And so now I have to be very intentional about making sure I move and I exercise. So I built myself a standing desk. So I can move more during the day since I'm coaching on the computer. And then I hired a coach to write me workout programs, even though I could write them for myself. It doesn't matter if I pay a coach money to write them and I know I'm accountable to doing them, then I'm much more likely to drag myself into the gym. So I kind of claw that in, but here's where we return back to this never going away. It's always going to be something you work hard at, because you can set your calendar up one way, and then as time goes, it kind of changes or things get pushed and it just becomes less consistent. So you're not failing. You just have to recalibrate. And so just a couple of weeks ago, actually 2 weeks ago, I actually stopped and I was like, I do a good job with this time blocking. I think, I've done the best that I can, but I need something a little bit better. And so I changed my time blocks, and they don't start until another like 2 weeks from now, because you usually have to like get yourself, past how you've already routined your life. But I changed it because I was not feeling like I was giving myself a good workout if I did it at the end of the day. I felt too tired, and I felt like it was such a mentally much more difficult negotiation to get myself to do it. And so I was like, how would your day look if you put your workout in the front of your day? Even though that's not what you're doing right now, like what would it look like And then what do you need to happen after that so that you can be organized and create content and do your podcast and stuff. So I basically shifted the ability for anybody to get on my calendar until after lunch. And that way I can get my workout done. I can write emails. I can, record my podcast, show up in the places that I want to be for my community, and then get to the more organized business. But I probably will need to give it another sanity check in 4 to 6 months.
Yeah.
And like, what does it look like now? What do I need? And then recalibrate and like change it to what I need. I mean, my kids are growing too, so their needs change, like sports seasons change. Like you just kind of have to redo that.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think that's such a great example of just like you've got a system-ish, right, in place, and you have some cutoff times so that you can do family things, and you have your work times and your family times. And then you're also like constantly looking, maybe not constantly, but just trying something. And if it's not quite working anymore, like how can I flip this or switch this so that I can try something different for a while and see if that works better. That way I can stay consistent and do the things that I need to want to, but maybe it doesn't always have to look like the same routine over and over and over for the rest of your life. And I think that's a really freeing like idea too, is if like you can try this for a while, give it a good shot, try it out and see what fits, see what works and see what doesn't. Because maybe you're trying too much. Maybe the workout is better at the beginning of the day than the end of the day. Really, I mean, I've done the same thing in my schedule where it's like, well, my brain is more on in the morning. So there needs to be more for that. And then in the afternoon, that's when I break and do some other things or take a break and then come back. So even just knowing that for myself, so I think that's such a good example of just kind of knowing what's going to work for you, but also giving it a really good run, You have just trying it for a week and then giving up.
Yeah. And the real work is done once you're implementing. And so I tell people this too, like you can resolve to do a lot of things. You can resolve to eat healthier and decide that you're going to grocery shop on Sundays and meal prep. Well, that's a good plan. That's like what I'm just talking about. My plan is to shift my workouts to the morning. And so that they're easier and more consistent to do for me, and then adjust these other things. So great plan. But the real work is going to happen when I implement, because in order for me to do what I planned, some things are going to have to change, right? If nothing changes, nothing changes. And so I can't just want this. It will have to be, well, if I'm going to get up early enough to work out. So I actually penciled in that my workout would start at 5:30. Because I, just like you said, I actually love to be creative and write and think in the morning. So that means I really need to be done my workout and ready to write or talk or whatever it is before the day starts is crazy. So that's the plan. And that's really the way I would want my day to go. I would feel like at the end of the day, I did it. I hit the things that make me feel like a job well done. And then I can just be with my family and be present at night and not feel stretched like, oh, I got to go to the gym or I got to do X, Y, and Z that I didn't get done. So in order for that to happen, I'm going to have to wake up earlier, or I'm going to have to go to bed earlier. Yeah. And so actually implementing that, doing the work to make that happen, that's going to be why that's successful or not. And I'll probably learn some stuff along the way. Yeah. For sure. Things that I shouldn't do at night or whatever, so that I can actually get to bed on time and wake up. And so whatever you're doing, like whether it's like, oh, well, here's my plan for working out, or here's my plan for eating better. That's good. That's where you start. And then you implement it and learn. And that's where the work happens.
Yep, exactly. That's it. Period. The end. I have one last question for you. Sure. What inspires you to keep going with your business? And no, that's pretty much it. What inspires you to keep going with Fitme, to keep going and growing?
It's the individual conversations that I get back from people who have struggled or been in this place for a really long time and felt hopeless. And then because of what we're doing as a team, because it's not just me, like I have this wonderful team, they don't feel like that anymore. And so to me, that is a very fulfilling way to like put my professional passion and energy into changing people's lives. And so even if they just like remember one thing from their time with Fitme and then they're able to use that forever, that's life changing. And so that's really what keeps me going. I think every time I see those individual examples, that's good enough for me. I oftentimes reinforce that to myself too. I say that because we can, no matter what you do, sometimes we get focused on external metrics or other people's measures of success. I think it's really normal no matter what you're doing. And so sometimes it's okay to just like acknowledge those and see where you're at, but then it's like, well, what really matters to me? And so sometimes when I get those messages from someone like, hey, this has really helped me, or this is changing my life, or I just needed this today. So for example, if I get a message from my podcast, like I just needed this today, like, thank you for putting this out. I reinforce it to myself by telling me like, you did 420 episodes. And if this is the only thing that came out of it, it's worth it. So I do that with coaching too. It's like if one person is like, my life has changed and it's taken 4 years of work and like all the hard sweat and tears, it's worth it. So that's what keeps me going.
I love it. It's beautiful. I mean, it's a ripple effect too. Even if they just learn one thing, if they pass that on, or if it helps them show up different in their lives, it affects a whole community of people, like the individual themselves, and then a whole community of people. So
yes,
it's really lovely. Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge and thoughts with us today. It's super insightful. Always love talking to you.
This is really fun.
I feel wiser.
Well, it was really fun, and we got to like laugh a little bit too. And my dogs got to I think this was their first podcast episode.
I was gonna
you guys
ask,
aren't gonna see the video.
Do we have one on its back here? Yes. He's totally on his back with like his head cocked, right?
Yes, and you're seeing his giant dog balls.
Well, I mean, can't really from here, but I was like, I just suddenly noticed, I was like, is he just he's just on his back. Like he is like napping his best life right now.
He's laying down like a tiny dog would, that's like laying flat on their back.
Yeah.
They're like,
but he just got his legs like just.
Right. And he's still intact. I'm gonna take a picture of him because he's ridiculous.
Totally do it. Things that happen when you're podcasting.
Yeah, but he's passed out. So these are the rescue puppies. I'll put it on my Instagram story today and I'll tag you.
So cute. I'm gonna take a picture just so I can put it on my stories too.
Yeah. The dog balls in the background. So
when you guys watch this on any video, you just have to zoom in.
I know you'll have to, you don't want to miss it. Rocky's dog balls. It's almost time for him to get neutered, but we had to wait till he was like full grown because big dogs are supposed to wait. And so he won't have his dog balls for much longer.
Fun times for him in the future.
Poor guy. Yeah, poor guy.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for your time today. Appreciate you coming on and hanging out with me. Let's let listeners know where they can connect with you and listen to you.
I think there's two places that I would suggest connecting with me. The first is my podcast. It's called Fitme Coffee Talk, and I release it most days of the week, so Monday through Friday, and it's really short and sweet. It's like 10 to 15 minutes long tops, and it's kind of like a verbal journal. It's like the stuff that's in my head, and I just share it with you as I drink a cup of coffee, and you can use it in your day. So it's kind of the sort of along the lines of like what we've talked about on this podcast, but just in smaller bites. And so check out Fitme Coffee Talk. And then the other place is to follow me on Instagram at Christy Campbell. I try to put stuff every day and show my real life. And I love to connect with the people who are following me. And so I'll reach out to you and say hi. And it's really me. I want to say hi and see how I can help. And so follow me on Instagram. And
I love
be
your
the place to
Instagram.
start. Thank you. Yeah.
I think it's really well done. Because it's useful. That's why.
Thank you. Yeah.
Useful and fun, informative. That's always a great combination. And I'll link all of that in the show notes. So
Awesome. Well, this was so much fun. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for coming on, and I will talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for tuning in to Crushing with Abio. If you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review. As always, you can connect with me on Instagram at Coach Abio or drop me an email at hello@crushingpodcast.com.